Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Pyware Night School. Tonight we're going to be going over the cloning functions, and we're going to do a recap of the matching options as well. Our cloning options are available in all of our drawing tools. Our drawing tools are actually all tools listed in this section. All of these tools are available here in the basic and the professional. This spiral tool is available only in the professional or as an additional plugin. When you open your tool panel for any of the tools, you will see your positions interval and a clone text box. The clone text box allows you to create multiple images of the same form. You can type in a 1, and that's going to clone it across the 50. Or if you have anything over 1, it's going to start cloning radially around the center. Now we do have additional cloning options that we added later in version 9. We have the radial clone, which is the default. You have the linear clone, which allows you to clone your form in a line. It allows you to create block type forms out of any shape. Also, we have the radial clone, the concentric clone. It allows you to clone around a center point, depending on what form you're dealing with. The concentric clone is available only in a handful of tools instead of all. You'll have it on the arc tool, the circle tool, and the polygon tool. So what we'll have, let's go ahead and start out here with our line. Okay. So let's go ahead and place a line out here. It's going to have a line of 9 people. Let's say we're going to clone it 8 times. And so we can have that spoke out around a center point if we wanted to have a starburst type thing. What's really nice is this gives you the ability to create a block very easily. I can pick and choose and create that angle. Now, we also added the ability to drop off the number of performers in subsequent lines. So let's say I'm going to drop off 1 after every 1. It's going to, after my first line, it's going to start dropping 1 person off. So that gives us the ability to do wedge type things. Let's do a 1. Let's do 9 here. Or 11, that's what it was. 9, that gives us a wedge. So we can create a wedge real easily using just the line tool. All right. The same thing goes with any of the other drawing tools. Let's start with a standard curve. So I wanted to make kind of a wave curve here, and I want that to be cloned down. The new cloning functions here allow you to do that. And now I have a block form of curves. We also recently had someone wanting to create a rectangle that is evenly spaced all the way around. I recommended using the cloning function as well. What you can do here is, let's go ahead and create a form. Let's do 40 to 40. We're going to do a rectangle. I'm going to clone that 3 times. Keep my standard radial clone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out. So we now have a square. And we can do that. You can also shift everything down, so I can reshift everything here. You can pull that block down here. And if we're going to do this, as you can see here, we do have some overlaps. what we can choose is we can do omit overlaps. And what that's going to do is it's going to choose to do it at endpoints. But since I'm not actually crossing at my endpoints, I'm going to choose anywhere. So basically, it's going to remove the performers that are stacked on top. So that will give me a number of performers where I'm not going to have to worry about overlapping anybody. So then I can actually accept that form. Let's add another page here. As you can see, I've lost one performer here. This one did not lose any because it was one of our performers here. This one has 2 out of it, and this one has 1 out of it. You can come in and regroup these to include whichever performers you want. Got 16, 15, 17, 16. So what I would do is I would come select these 2 lines here, and I'm going to cut these apart and group these together. So now I have 4 lines of 16. Oh. Put these back together here. So I have my 4 lines of 16, so I can break those out into different forms. Let's say I wanted to do this, do an arc. "16 performers." Pull in, shift my performers here. I can create kind of like flower petal effects. And then you can come in and do a proximity match, or you can do a manual match for a proximity match. It's pretty decent. Goes for less movement there. You can also manually match those. Let's say we just wanted things to flip out. Let's see, what do we got? We're working with this. Let's see here. This one was across. That's right. All right, our next one here. Just continually matching right quick. And this would keep our groups together. And give us a little more velocity when we have a couple of collisions that we'll need to tweak on, but we can always adjust that in the adjuster tool. That looks pretty good to me. So let's come in and adjust those collisions here. So we can come in here and choose to edit path. I'm going to grab a couple of handles here. Go to slightly curved path here. Might be a little dramatic there, but we can move it up. If we need to make a little more fine adjustment, we can pull our snap to down, change it to a quarter. There we go. Don't have any collisions there. And now we've got our cloned flower petals there. Does anybody have any questions about cloning or any examples? Okay, you want to see the wedge again, all right? So I'm going to go down, select my line tool. Let's clear this out. And so I'm going to start out with, let's say, the base of my wedge. I've got 9. I'm going to repeat it 8 times, so it's going to be a 9 by 9 square. I'm going to do my linear clone. Let's do my snap to here, so I'm snapping to a whole step. And then I'm going to do a 1 drop off. Okay, so then this gives me ability to drag my wedge any way I want. So I can do a right angle triangle, or I can do an isosceles, equilateral. Just spread out our intervals there. Same thing can be done if you want a little bit more drastic drop off. Let's say we want to do 2 here. Let's start out with 18, maybe 17. There you go. A nice little, a wider base there. It gives you the same functionality there. And all of these functions can be saved as sketches as well. What I would recommend, especially right now, if you're not knee deep in writing, is I would go ahead and create a sketch library of different wedges or different solid shapes or just different shapes that you work with using the clone function, because that could speed it out for you. What you can do is you come in to your sketch manager here and do create new sketch library. We'll call this filled forms. And say filled wedges and blocks. Okay, so what that's going to do is I'm going to have my filled forms sketch file, and I can either manually open that, or if I'm just in a file that I'm working with, let's go ahead and do our sample once more. Do a 9, do a 2-step interval. We're going to clone that 8 times. We're going to do linear clone. And we'll do a 1 drop off. So this right here, I can go ahead and accept. And I can, copy that. So I copied this form. I can paste it as a new sketch. I can also now import that sketch. So we're going to do a 45 person. Let's see, 45 wedge. And that's now been imported. I can delete those. Delete my sketch. I can just jump back into sketch mode and do sketching directly. So let's say we wanted to come back down, do 9, 2-step interval, clone that 8 times, linear clone, my drop off. And then what we're going to do is accept that. Now, if you notice here, our grouping, we're grouped in individual lines. Now, when I import this sketch to my sketch library, it's going to have the same matching lines here. So this would be multiple different groups that you can match to. So if you choose to, you can actually come in and group them all as one form. That way you can apply any number of performers to this wedge directly, or you can leave it cut apart. And when you leave it cut apart, then you can actually apply different number of people to each stacked line. Okay, so I've got this. Let's go ahead and import this into my sketch library. Select it, sketch library. Add selected shapes to the library. Wedge, sauce. Okay, so now I have that available in my sketch library here. So let me go ahead and delete this, and we can come back in, and I want to say I want to import this. So as you can see here, I have the page title that I've saved when I imported it available to me. So if you want to put in a short description of something that you would normally call that, you can do that here. If I wanted to import that here, I can choose use this sketch at count 0, and now I have it here. So I've got 45 positions. Let's say I had my 45 already entered here. Select my performers. I want to apply these performers to that sketch. I'm going to select my sketch tool. And since it's a block, I want it to actually match to the points that I set. So I'm going to choose the option sketch points to places. So it's going to automatically put those positions that I'm matching to it on the exact locations of the sketch points instead of using the matching lines across. And here we go. Any questions on adding sketches to a sketch library? Or any other questions about the wedge building? Again, the same can be done with any of the other drawing tools. Good deal. So I've got my pencil tool here, and I can clone it back down to those diagonals, maybe 2.1 maybe. The 2.8, almost. Pretty close to splitting there. So coming down to using any of the drawing tools, using their freeform tool to make stacked blocks out of any form. It can be an interesting effect for creating scatter forms as well if you wanted to. Place a few handles here, clone that about 10 times. We can get a nice little radial scatter here. And and can easily use that to kind of start pulling him into concentric forms. Let me accept that. You've got performers scattered around, so you can pull those down in to different groups as well. Neat little effect. And the same thing can be done for our spiral. So I can have the spirals looped together. Or multiple types. As you can see, you also have your linear clone here. Let's see what else can be done. Let's do our concentric circles here. So we have our largest circle. Clone that 4 times. Do concentric. Pulls it down. We have them exact. Maybe 2.1. There we go. And that gives us concentric circles very quickly. And pull those into any different shape that you would like. Any other questions on the cloning function? All right. Let's go ahead and use this function, and we're going to go back over real quick of the matching functions. So what I want to do is I want to actually pull these apart. When matching, what you're going to want to remember is the original form and the order that is entered. So this is the leader, this is the end of the form. It's matched linearly around the shape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do my clone, or I'm going to do my arc. I'm going to pull it apart. Okay, so this was the first point that I entered, the second point, so my form will start here. Okay, so I've got 72 performers, so I want to half that, so 36. I'm going to clone that here, so it's across. I can clear, I can choose predict next. And I'm going to match here. So as you can see, the predict next has now pulled it across. I have a largest stride of 8 to 5 and a smallest stride of 10 6. I'm just going to repeat that down here. What is that? 58, 25, and 4, 29. Pulling it once. And with my predict next. 44, so 22, clone once. Predict next. Now, if you enter those performers like we are currently, it makes it real easy to match. So you're not having to do a bunch of custom matching. $29. So for our clone, what you want to do, if you have an odd number, you want to start out with the higher number of performers. So 29, that would be 19 and, I'm sorry, 15 and 14. I'm going to clone once. And then what I'm going to have is I'm going to have a single person left out on this side, an unmatched performer. What I can do is I can choose actually to match the end person here. So I'm going to leave my gap in the form here, and I'll show you how to adjust that interval after we're done with all of our forms here, so that it'll be even. It's going to be a little bit wider here. I'm going to do the same here. Actually, yeah, let's do this. And we're going to do 8 here. Again, let's step this out just one bit. Clone. Clear our matching lines. Predict next. Our next performers. I'm going to back up. Okay, now we have them all matched. However, we have some missing points here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that form. I'm going to pop into my morph tool. Okay, I'm going to make sure I have my curved shape on. And what I'll do is I'll actually hold down my shift key and I can add an editing handle here. As you can see here, I can fill out that. And now I have an equalized interval across that arc. All I've done is added that one point where I can fill it out and it equalizes that interval for me. And the same thing here, I'll select my morph tool. I'm going to shift click here and I'm going to just drag that handle so it fills out. This one is a little bit off the grid. Okay, so now I have my completed form here with my number of performers that is slightly off since I had odd numbers. Any questions on that? How to match into cloned forms easily? Change your custom grouping. I'm sorry, custom matching. Or how to tweak a form that's already been placed. Any other questions for tonight? Anything that you'd like to touch on or you're getting stuck with? We can touch on that right quick as well. All right, if there's no other questions for tonight, I think that's a good one to wrap up on. Again, if you're going to be attending the virtual TMEA, we will be there on Friday, Saturday. Feel free to stop in and talk to us about what's new. All right, guys, thank you all so much, and y'all have a wonderful evening.